It's been about a month or so since we sprayed these beans with Roundup, and we're back here in the test plot. Today I've got Dwayne Hopkins with me. Dwayne is from Kitchen Seed. He's one of the seed specialists there at Kitchen Seed, and one that we work with closely on our food plots, and he's the seed expert, we call him. So as you can see, the Roundup's pretty much taking care of the weeds. There may be a few left, but we've had a bad year for weeds with all the wet weather we had there in June and early in the year. But we're definitely going to have a good crop of beans, as you can see. One thing that kind of surprised me on this test is I expected our competitors' forage beans to be a lot taller than our real world beans. But that's not really the case, and in fact today I brought along a 4-foot yardstick, and we're going to just compare right here on video so everyone can see the height of the competitors' forage beans and our real world beans. Yeah, it looks like about approximately 42 inches is about how tall our competitors' beans are, and I'll hand this to Dwayne and he can get a measurement on our real world beans.
The real world product looks to be very similar, 42 inches as well. We look at a good height for a mid-August soybean that struggled through some excessive heat over here for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I think both beans are showing good durability to the heat and the environment that we've had. What I see is maybe of some interest is the difference in our leaf over theirs, and I think if Don will grab one, we'll notice that their mix offers a similar type leaf, maybe a little more volume on the mature leaf as we look at it, which would relate to tonnage in a forage atmosphere, a forage environment, if you were going to harvest these beans for forage. But in a grazing environment, we see a little different approach or a little different aspect with the animal.
Yeah, and one thing that you'll notice is right here in front of me is you can see where deer have actually browsed off the top of this bean plant. I don't know if you can zoom in and get that, but there's just all kinds of places here where you can see the deer have browsed off the top of these soybeans, and what they're doing is they're going for this young tender growth that's out on the end of the bean plant. That's what the deer are actually browsing on. I'm not convinced that these big leaves and this tonnage is that big a deal, because the deer are actually eating the end of the plant, and that end of the plant is there on both varieties. So there's probably definitely a little more tonnage of browse on our competitor's bean, but what's that really relate to? Because the deer are actually just eating that tender end of the plant. And you know, one thing, us standing here, you can see the marker that we've been referencing all along that separates the two different varieties. And as you look across here, it's really hard to tell the difference between one bean and the other at this stage. Now, one thing that Dwayne and I did notice was that our real world beans are a lot farther along, that they've got some young pods on them, and our competitors' beans are just at the flowering stage where they haven't even started putting pods on yet. And you know, we're standing here in the middle of August, and in a lot of regions, if you're wanting a late season food plot, you know, with the beans in the pod, you're probably not going to get it with these competitors' forage beans, because the pod just isn't going to have time to mature before the cold weather hits. And we'll document that all along as we go here later in the season, but that's just something to keep an eye on today, that our real world beans are a little bit farther along in the maturity stage than what our competitors' beans are. So, and one thing Dwayne's going to do here today is he's going to take some samples to have analyzed to compare, you know, the protein content and such of both the real world beans and our competitors' beans, so that we can share that information with you as well.
And as we take a sample, we'll send it to a private lab and have a feed analysis brought back on this to evaluate the products. But what we want to do to make a fair comparison and accuracy, which is most important to all of us, is we want to probably sample this bean here, or this leaf here on this bean, and a similar mature leaf on the other product as well. And then we're going to go and we're going to come down and we're going to pick the leaf that we really truly feel that the animal is eating. I feel that that's the key to this product, the soybean lineup as a whole. So our browse on this young tender product, we're going to compare that equally as well. But like Don said earlier, the factor in Illinois is that there are thousands of acres of soybeans available today. But we are looking at that product that brings this animal along through fall on into winter and offer a quality protein source through the soybean itself that helps maintain body scores and brings the animal in to your locations for that late season hunt.
Let's go see if we can find Dwayne. Hey, there he is.
Hi, Don. Brings you to town this morning.
Well, we came to see you.
Really?
Yeah, looks like you're hard at it.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for spring. Be
Yeah.
before we know it.
Well, we stopped in to see if you got the analysis back on those soybean tests we did last summer.
Sure do. Had them back for a couple months. They're on my desk. If you'd like to take a look at them.
Yeah, if we could take a look at them, that'd be good.
Yeah, great. Let's run the front.
All right.
Okay, these two represent the mature leaves that would, so it's the full size leaf that you find at the top of the plant. And what you notice here is that the crude proteins and the numbers all the way down through the soluble protein, crude protein, and your relative feed values are virtually the same within a few points of each other. So this being the competitor's bean, which is the competitor's forage bean that we that you grew on your farm that we sampled, and then this would be in the real world whitetail soybean, the side by side comparison. So these are the big full mature leaves taken off the top of the plant that we see the whitetail feeding on most cases. Mm-hmm. So we see no significant difference there.
But if I see this right, the real world analysis actually comes up just a little bit more protein than the competitors mean.
That's right. But in all fairness, the university trial or a statistical trial would look at that there's no significant difference as close as what they are. So they could, this one could be better this time, this one could be better next time. We're so close. We're splitting hairs at this point.
So
no significant difference.
So it really wouldn't be fair for either company to say their product is a higher protein level than the other.
Not based on this analysis at this time frame. And these were taken on August 24th, and I believe we videoed the day that we took that, and we were in a fairly hot, dry period. So, right. So then what I found interesting is that where this is based on the big leaf that some products are sold on for tonnage, this is the numbers that are based on the small leaf that I feel like the animal actually eats. The tender, more palatable, more desirable leaf that the animal's after. And as we look at that, the protein levels are, this time they flip-flop the other way, and the competitor is 1 point better. But there again, no significant difference in a statistical trial. So I guess I look at tonnage being the only advantage on the competitors being, but we're looking at a equally as quality food source at a later date, and a comparable analysis at grazing time.
So in other words, during the green browse period, the products are basically equal.
That's what these analysis here would show. This is done by an independent lab that we use for our silage and all of our other testing that we do.
Now that's interesting, because I kind of expected the competitor's forage bean would maybe beat ours by a little bit, and I find it real interesting that we're holding our own during that forage stage with the competitor. Yeah.
The makeup of the plant, except for volume, appears to be very similar in the two products. So where I would see them and separate themselves as a product was tonnage over quality, as that we move into the maturity aspect of the products.
Well, that's interesting. Good news too, I guess, for us.
I think so.
Yeah. It's now October the 8th, and we're back here at our soybean test plot. The early archery season has been in about a week now, and we've been meaning to hunt this plot, but the wind has been wrong. But it looks like it's changing around, so here in the next couple of days we're going to get to hunt this blind behind me. And with any luck at all, we'll see some deer out here feeding in these soybeans. You know, we're comparing two soybean products here, but it's really comparing two different soybean products. The one is going to provide more green browse during a longer growing season, and the real world bean is going to provide the browse through the summer, but it's really going to shine in the late winter months, you know, when it gets real cold and the snow gets on and prime food sources are hard to come by for the deer. That's when the real world bean is really going to shine. So we'll take a look later in the season and show you. So the deer have moved on to other food plots on the property, and they're in the real world soybeans just heavy as can be right now, but not this particular plot because this has been cleaned out. And we're going to show you some footage from some of those other plots here real quick, but we just wanted to come back and have one final taping at the test plot to show you exactly what the deer have done. And you know, this test is not a foolproof test. It's not a scientific test. You could pick it apart and say we did this wrong or we did that wrong, but what we're encouraging you to do, and Real World Wildlife Seed is probably the only food plot seed company that will do this, is we are encouraging you to take any of our products, our soybeans, our clover and chicory, or just any of our products, and plant it side by side with the competitors and see for yourself which works best for you. And in this case, I fully believe that the Real World soybeans did better for me than our competitors' soybeans based on the activity that I seen and observing the plants themselves. We had more soybeans and mature soybeans, where our competitors' beans had fewer and a lot of immature beans on their plants. So you know, we just encourage you to check out all our competitors and plant theirs side by side with ours, because you know, we're deer hunters too, and if we thought that the competitor's product was better than ours, that's what we'd be planting on our property, because we want the best results ourselves. My deer hunting means more to me than selling a bag of beans, I promise you that. So anyway, I just hope this video kind of opened your eyes to the possibilities that soybeans offer. And you know, if you still don't believe it, well, just check this out.